Hey, this is Jim McDonald. Welcome to episode 247 of the PowerCast. This episode, we sort of just rolled into this one. We got a list of topics from the office staff that we didn't really review before we started, so we just kind of plowed through it. And I'm not going to say that we were authoritative on all of these issues. In fact, I feel like we weren't. I will say that I was correct about the number of Bitcoin in the world, which is that can ever be in the world, which is 21 million. But beyond that, I really can't say. Anyway, like and share this episode. We'll be back on Wednesday, just a few more episodes of the PowerCast in 2017. And we're going to be taking a little break in there somewhere as well. So anyway, we'll see you on Wednesday. Support for this episode of the PowerCast comes from Precision Nutrition, home of the world's top nutrition coaches. Head over to get.pn/PowerCast for a free nutrition course, especially for PowerCast listeners, focusing on the role of carbs. That's get.pn/PowerCast. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifting shoe, the official shoe of the PowerCast at Reebok.com. 8-Man Strong apparel for people who lift heavy weights at 8manstrong.com. Compex Muscle Stim products at CompexUSA.com. Use the code PowerCast for an additional 28% off all but the lowest price model. HowMuchYouBench.net. Use the code PowerCast for 15% off Sling Shots and free shipping on orders over $100. And Bodybuilding.com, the world's largest fitness website and supplement store. Bodybuilding.com has free plans for every level. Visit bodybuilding.com today to become your best self. Mark Bill's PowerCast is also sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They are also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent.
Recorded live in West Sacramento, California, this is Mark Bell's PowerCast. Standing just to the left of Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
I'm going to go out of order because I already have Bitcoin pulled up here. People...
They're not in any specific order. It's just...
Is this an ad?
This is an ad for Bitcoin. You can hear the peanut gallery speaking to us here, somewhat off mic.
A live studio audience.
Just our live studio audience. Appreciably better than a dead studio audience, I would think.
Yeah, that'd be gross.
We could be recording this in a mortuary.
It's pretty cold in here.
Okay, so the dictionary definition of Bitcoin is a type of digital currency in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of units of currency and verify transfer of funds operating independently of a central bank. And when I say a central bank, I mean any central bank. So there are like exchanges that do Bitcoin. It was created in 2009, and there are a limited number of Bitcoins. There can only be I think it's 21 million. I don't have that up in front of me right now, Bitcoins at any particular time, but the value can change over time. There are also a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. When they talk about the encrypted transactions, if you've ever heard the term blockchain, I don't know a hell of a lot about it, but
I certainly haven't.
Blockchain is the thing that enables these encrypted transactions. The deal, however, with encrypted transactions is that they are often and can often be used for illegal things. Money laundering, drugs.
Like Western Union?
Yeah, like Western Union, but less traceable than Western Union because Western Union does have records.
Yeah.
You can send to fake names or whatever, or you can send from fake names, but Bitcoin. And a bunch of people in the powerlifting community are using Bitcoin for investments, and they're making a lot of money right now. And the thing this kind of reminds me of is in the 90s, a lot of people decided they wanted to be day traders. So basically, they would be trading stocks like on their computers all day in their underwear. Back at the beginning of, like they had dial-up modems, and they were
Bing, bing.
yes, and they were trying to make money, and the bottom fell out of that, and that may be the case here as well. And like anything that kind of feels like gambling, getting in and getting out, and having your money be at the very least intact, let alone actually make money.
Yeah,
is
stuff
a real
like
trick.
this is a good reminder for me that I don't know anything about anything. That's where I'm at with it. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on, but
it feels a little bit like a like any other get rich quick thing, except that there's a certain degree of reality, actuality, validity to it. I mean, these are recognized currencies, and they're being traded on exchanges. Different people have different kinds of accounts to trade these things with, but so it's not Amway, it's not any kind of multi-level marketing scheme or whatever. But at the same time, it just seems like any time that you're doing something like this, you need to be doing it with extra money and not like food money.
yeah, I've had people ask me about different investments and just a whole lot of shit that I don't know anything about. And I'm like, I don't know how to make money that way. I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Seems too like sometimes too risky to me, but I don't know. I don't know much about that. That's for sure.
I think that the thing it does, however, is when you see people that in the community or people that you know personally who are making money off of it, like today, then it gives you a case of FOMO.
Yeah. What are they doing?
What are they? How can I get involved in that? Why am I not making this money?
Yeah. Yeah. I think usually the case is you always just think things are better than they really are. I think a lot of times, and I'm sure that's probably the case with that one. Or it might be one of those things that comes and goes, or who knows? But kind of seems like it's just one of those deals,
We've talked before about greener grass syndrome, and that's definitely a greener grass item. Other people's incomes, or your perception of other people's incomes.
People counting your money. That happens quite a bit.
Should we talk about the NFL Network suspensions?
I saw that the Patriots got their ass kicked. I saw that by the Miami Dolphins. It's about time somebody kicked the shit out of the Patriots.
Yeah.
Fucking Tom Brady was on his ass the whole game. He was harassed quite a bit during that game. But there's just all this sexual harassment stuff is just flying around, and more people keep getting taken down. And we had Heath Evans on the show, and these are I just accused of, right? So I don't.
Yeah, and in all the cases relative to that, it sounds like there could be like evidence, because there seem to be a lot of like text messages and that sort of thing. And I don't know. When you know somebody, you tend to have a hard time believing what's up with them.
Yeah, I think in this case, there's like a bunch of the executives of the NFL Network. I know Marshall Faulk name was in there, and there was at least 4 or 5
Donovan McNabb, a couple others, and then the guy who now runs the Ringer Network for Bill Simmons, who used to be at NFL Network. Right. All of them under. It's actually a lawsuit. It's not just stuff that's come out in the media. It's literally a lawsuit against them, which a lot of names are named and a lot of specifics given.
Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of validity to a lot of what's going on, and I think there's also some people, coming out about stuff that happened 30 years ago. It's a little asinine. Like I think with Donald Trump, someone was saying that there was a woman that was saying that he sexually harassed her on a first-class flight in like 1987.
Yeah.
And as horrific as that is, if that's true, I'm sorry, but your fucking time has run out. I realize there's not a statute of limitations on that, but in my opinion, that's kind of bullshit to just let that amount of time expire. And I do understand it's complicated. I understand that going to somebody for help would be a complicated thing, and I don't know what that feels like. So I've never been in that position, but at the same time, fuck, man, you're not going to scream or make any noise or like you're on a flight. There's other people there. You're in public, basically. Mm-hmm. And so some of those things I'm having a hard time getting on board with. And the other side of it, too, that I struggle with, too, is people should be able to wear whatever they want, but they should also be able to wear whatever they want within reason. And I think that the way that you dress has a direct impact on what people are going to say to you and how people are going to view you. And I think that the world that we're in is very competitive. And when these women are in these competitive environments, they're wearing short skirts and they're around former NFL football players who know how to speak locker room talk. And the women that have been involved in media and having women on the sidelines of football games and stuff is not anything new. That's been happening for years, and I'm sure the amount of sexual misconduct that has happened is probably, I would assume, is through the roof.
Yeah.
The solution that I would have is to not have women on the side. I know that people get upset about stuff like that, but I think a lot of these companies and a lot of these higher up places will probably just not hire women anymore.
But they can't get away with that.
I know.
It can't. I mean, that's equal employment opportunity law will prevent that. That'll be a problem. The same
Wear
thing.
Some pants, ladies.
The same thing happened.
Fucking A.
The same thing happened here in California with lobbyists, senators saying that they wouldn't meet with female lobbyists, and that's silly too. It's not going to work. You can't get away with that. The issue.
But what they could do is they could perhaps have another person in there with them.
There are ways to structure things for sure so that trust can be there on both sides. I think that a lot of guys are more afraid of being accused than should be afraid. I think that more women have been harassed than come forward by an even greater percentage.
Oh, yeah.
I think that than any guy that's ever had a false accusation against them. But I mean, I think that the studies show that what women wear has no bearing on whether or not they're likely to be a victim of sexual violence. However, there could be more of a connection to just general harassment or just the kind of language, kind of locker room talk stuff. And I think it really comes back to don't get caught up in the I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. Think about what's the best presentation for yourself.
Right.
All the time. And that's men and women. In terms of this kind of talk and this kind of language, does a guy look good to everybody else in the room when he's leering at a woman? Everybody thinks, well, that guy's a fool.
Mm-hmm. Or a perv.
Yeah, exactly. So he's making a fool of himself. There isn't anything to be gained by that kind of activity.
Right.
And there probably isn't anything to be gained by dressing more provocatively than you absolutely have to. Look professional, for heaven's sakes. If it doesn't look professional, then it's not creating a good image for you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough too because if you're on TV, the women are going to show some cleavage and stuff like that. I mean, Joe Rogan had a whole stand-up routine about men having a trap door on their pants that show their shaft. Remember when we saw him? He's like, yeah. And I mean, it's for some reason it's acceptable for women to show their tits, right? And it's just every news channel, every weather woman, I mean, almost every, there are some exceptions that they're showing some skin, they're showing some leg, and so it's going to be sexualized because you're wearing less clothes and it is attractive. And I guess from my perspective is that men will always be pigs, and I'm sure that men can use more self-control, but I don't think this is anything new. I think this has been going on for a very long time.
What is this exactly is not new, for sure.
Yeah, it's not new, and I think that if you picked a percentage of men, it's probably like 85, 90%. Like, it could even be higher. I don't, it's just not good. We don't have a good track record with that. So don't expect anything differently from us, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. For Heath's sake, I hope that this is something that is not. I hope that number one, it's not true, or number two, that he figures out a way forward, a constructive way forward out of it. Because I like the guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he makes a good impression on us. As we talked about in the show, he doesn't swear. He's basically a single parent to a couple of daughters. I mean, he's got kind of all of those things on that side of the equation, and I would rather believe that this is not, true or is going to be so damaging to his career going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this case, I think it's one woman having an issue with a bunch of these,
about seven, I think, something like
different guys, and I mean, none of it sounds very good, but. Sometimes some of these shitty things happen, but also like gang mentality sometimes perseveres and people make bad decisions.
Yeah.
You get people together and one person does something and the next person thinks it's okay. And next thing you know, things are out of control and out of hand. And hopefully this just brings us closer to, figuring out how to solve some of these issues, really.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solutions would be, but, maybe just awareness.
Yeah.
People just being mindful.
All the time. Just be mindful all the time of how, as I think I said in the last time that we talked about this, how something is going to sound or look out of context.
Yeah.
And some things are just, out of your control, but most of them are in your control.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference telling somebody that they look great today versus saying, "Hey, your ass looks awesome."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, it's like those are two separate things.
One's a compliment, and the other one is
taking it too far.
But obviously, that's the thing that we say to each other around here. But that's a guy-to-guy thing, and there's nothing behind it. What?
There might be something.
Well, yeah,
girl to girl too.
Yeah, girl to girl too. Exactly.
Don't worry, ladies. You're included in that.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I encountered the Keaton Jones video on Dana White's. Actually, I think it was maybe Joe Manganiello's Instagram, but he maybe reposted it
all over the place. Yeah,
and
I saw it popping up.
It was incredibly sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get through it without choking up. But
the kid talking about being bullied, being made fun of. I think he had some sort of cancerous tumor, and he's had like over 30 surgeries since the time he was a kid. And due to that, he has many, many scars.
Right.
And actually, the kid should be praised rather than put down for being able to still be on this fucking planet in the first place. But, things like this are tough. Again, I don't think you look different. You are shorter. You are fatter. You are too skinny. You're dumb. I mean, there's not a lot you can do about it other than try to talk about it, try to have conversations about it. I do think that along the lines of the sexual harassment stuff and along the lines of bullying, I think a lot of things are centralized around confidence.
Yeah.
My wife kind of made the joke. My wife's always been infatuated with Stone Phillips. I'm Stone Phillips. I don't know if you guys ever. He's not on the air anymore, but Stone Phillips is a very handsome broadcaster.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't see no Stone Phillips getting in trouble for sexual harassment. But it's probably because, and I have no idea whether that guy could be the biggest perv in the world.
Who knows?
But the point is, a lot of times, if you're confident about yourself, then you don't have to really, fuck with other people too much,
Yeah, I would. The whole thing is really turned into a mess. But my thought about it at the time was that he was just so articulate about the not being able to understand why people treat each other the
Yeah,
way
'cause
they
he's,
do.
well, yeah, he's articulate about it because he's a little kid, and he basically was just saying exactly how he felt.
Right.
He's like, I'm sad. They're making fun of me, and I don't get it. I'm not any different than them. I'm a human being, because that's the way he's viewing it. He's a human being, and they're viewing it. No, man, you look weird. You had all these surgeries.
Yeah.
That's that's just the way people are going to act.
It did have me thinking as well about the fact that, like, particularly my grammar school and to a certain degree my high school was not like a hotbed of bullying.
Yeah.
Very little of it happened. My wife, however, went to a different school, in grammar school growing up, and she had the misfortune of being a smallish girl who hit puberty hard. She had bad hair, and she wore glasses, thick glasses, and all the other girls wanted to pick on her. And her solution was to find the biggest girl of each representative ethnic group in the school and be friends with them and be nice with them and help them with their homework and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of solved her problem. Those girls kind of became protectors and wouldn't let anybody else beat up on her. But I never really have to go through that. I think I've had more intimidation as an adult than I ever did as a kid. But still, his video, touched me, moved me, whatever. And then, like, the next day, we're finding out that his family is maybe super racist, and he may have been using the N-word around school, and one thing or another. And it had me thinking about this. Like, we take people who get, social media traction, their video becomes viral or whatever, and we have sympathy for them, we feel badly for them, and then everybody wants to put them way up on a pedestal.
Right.
And a lot of people in entertainment wanted to reach out to him for, number one, probably just unselfish reasons, but also selfish reasons, because they did it super publicly.
Well, yeah, if you want to reach out to him, then try to find him, DM him or something, right?
Yeah, instead of, I mean, there are ways to get to people. You can find anybody who happens, who shows up on social media.
But instead, no, you have to take it and make it about yourself. That's the way it works.
Exactly. And then it becomes this huge thing, and then there's the counter
you know
story.
what? Your social media is already about yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Just relax.
Exactly.
There's plenty of room for you to talk about yourself.
And then it becomes about the flaws in this family, and so they go from hero to villain very quickly.
It's like a picture with the mom with the Confederate flag or something, right?
Yeah.
What is the deal? I'm very ignorant. I never paid attention in school. I don't know what the fuck's going on. What is the deal with the Confederate flag?
The Confederate flag, actually there was more than one, but the one that we all think about is the one that was on the fucking General Lee.
Yeah.
And their horn played Dixie. Dixie was the sort of unofficial anthem of the Confederate States of America. The flag was one of the flags of the Confederate States of America. And there are sort of two ways to look at it. You can look at it one way. This is a group that perpetrated a civil war after seceding from the United States, and they lost, and this is their thing, and it represents slavery, it represents bigotry, it represents a lot of negative things. And then there are the other people who believe that it represents their heritage as people who grew up in the South.
Right.
And I think there's validity to both points of view.
Right.
And I think that people on either side don't see the other side very clearly.
It causes just like any sort of symbol that people associate with something negative. They're not going to be able to understand anything else around it, right? It's going to make them too mad. Yeah,
and I mean, I was listening to a thing about about Dixie, about the song, and like I grew up thinking it was part of
folklore, or
just,
whatever you want to call
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Like
just another American tune, and it was representative of a time when there was a tremendous amount of strife and a war and whatever, but we didn't throw everything away. We didn't say, whatever. It didn't become Nazi swastikas.
Right.
Right. We tried to remember that there was a division and why there was a division and all that stuff. That's how I thought about it as a kid. But my family came from the South, and I had ancestors that absolutely fought on both sides, more on the Confederate side.
Right.
I didn't know those people, and my parents didn't know those people, but God knows they had heard plenty of stuff along the way. My parents were not particularly bigoted, but they had their views, and the previous generations more so,
These things are all very difficult to understand, because especially if you're raised a certain way, like if you're just taught a certain thing. My grandfather was racist. I've heard him use the N-word many times when I was a kid. I don't think he knew any better. I mean, you can't just blame it all on ignorance. Sometimes, you have to have some fucking human decency about you. But, and because of that, my dad is a little bit racist. And, with each generation, it has died off even more because we learn more about each other. We learn more about other races and other people and other ethnicities and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's just some of these things are just when it comes to something like the Confederate flag, one person may even view it as that side was just trying to keep things the way that they were because that's the way they grew up. And obviously, slavery fucking sucks, and we know all that, but at the time, that's what that's what they had. That's what they were used to. And they're like, this is the way this works. This is the way this society works. And I think that, for people to try to, I guess the main thing from my standpoint is who gives a fuck about a flag, and who cares about, you try not to let words and try not to let symbols and try not to let things like that rip you apart so badly, and try to be stronger than that. The bullies are always going to be the bullies. The people that are going to sexually harass are always going to sexually harass. And we can continue to try to educate them, and that can help. And it can, hold people more accountable for their behaviors. But at the same time, the people that are the victims, there has to be something from your end as well, where you're trying to hold a little stronger. Maybe there's just communicating with people, telling people how you feel, having friends. There's got to be some accountability on both sides, even though it sucks to be a victim of anything. But I'm not going to let a flag or let anything like that, bother me that much or slow me down. Words, any of the stuff. People get really bent out of shape about religion, or people get bent out of shape about taxes, or people get bent out of shape about all these different topics and subjects, and they can be things that really jab at you hard. Even just, for example, the other day, my father-in-law was talking about somebody in our family that is, the guy struggles with drug addiction, right? And so he's saying, hey, he's saying all these negative things about him. I'm thinking, you know what? My damn father-in-law doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He doesn't know the first thing about addiction, and this is a very lethal thing. But at the same time, I was just like, you know what? He doesn't know fucking anything about what he's talking about. I'm just going to tell him how I feel, and I'm just going to drop it. So I just said, hey, you know what? I think you're wrong. I disagree with you, because some people, they make really poor choices when they're addicted to drugs, much like my brother was addicted to drugs. I'm not going to let that conversation melt me and turn me into a piece of shit. And I'm also not going to ball up my fist and start throwing punches either. I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? I disagree. I'm going to fucking move on.
Yeah, well, keto or no keto is another one that people are way up in arms about. I saw our good friend Lane Norton posted a study that was done where a guy basically
he's
just
all fired up.
ate junk food, but it was a reduced He ate a reduced calorie diet of junk food for a period of time, and all his labs got better and all of that stuff, and he didn't have problems with insulin resistance supposedly or whatever. But he did this for 30 days, and who gives a fuck, really? Because is that something that's going to be sustainable over the long term? And is it something that most people can do? I would say that being able to just eat a reduced calorie diet of junk food for a month is not something your average person is going to be able to do. So it's an outlier, so it doesn't fucking matter. Exactly. It matters not at all.
Yeah.
What most people do is eat too much food that's junk.
Yeah.
Or too much food, period. And that's how they gain weight. And they lose weight by eating less.
Right.
I get it. But most people are not going to be able to do what that guy did.
Right. Well, most people, a lot of people just don't understand being rational and being reasonable. There's got to be at least some of that. You have to have some of that. And, for this particular kid, Keaton, I mean, fuck, man, it's impossible for other kids his age to understand that Keaton was fucked over by life and that he was born with this goddamn tumor. They don't get that. They don't. How can I don't know how old the kid is, 10-year-old kid. Another 10-year-old kid's not going to get that. They're going to say, you look weird.
Yeah.
You look different. That's all they know. And the only thing that we can try to do is Keaton's parents. This all always fucking goes back to the same thing we've always talked about on this podcast, which is parents. Keaton's parents need to keep that fucking kid strong. As strong as he's been going through all those surgeries, they need to be twice as strong for him in those cases when he's upset by what people fucking with him.
Now, the other reaction that I had was in watching the original video is that she seemed to be prompting him.
Oh, God.
And
who knows?
And supposedly there's a GoFundMe that she was trying to fill out once it went viral and all that stuff.
People find out all kinds of stuff about you
Yeah.
as soon as your shit goes viral. There's like 4 million views of it in a day or something like that.
Yeah, just some crazy number. But it felt pageant mom, stage mom, whatever, and it just didn't seem. I mean, if she had been in the video any longer, if her voice had been in the video any longer, I think the whole thing would have failed because it would have been more obvious that she was prompting this response.
And how many of those did she try to record?
Yeah, exactly. How many drafts ended up in her iPhone trash can?
Yeah, you don't know what she's doing after she records it. God damn it, Keaton! Why don't you record this better?
Yeah,
why don't you cry more?
Exactly.
Punch him.
Prompt him. Who knows how much she wound him up before he started to talk?
Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe it's authentic. I don't know.
Well, I think his emotion was absolutely authentic,
for sure.
and I think you can't discount that. I think it's unfair to discount that because God knows everybody responded to it. But at the same time, all of us cry at movies when they're sad, and none of that's real. I mean, so
that's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
Mark Bell's PowerCast is sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They're also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, go to healthiq.com/PowerCast today. So what makes Health IQ so unique? They use science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for weightlifters and strength trainers. Historically, you get penalized by life insurance companies for BMI, family history, and other attributes, but you don't get rewarded when you live a health-conscious lifestyle. 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance, which is crazy. That's actually a lot.
I wish you could get insurance on like your pecs and stuff. Like I blew out my pec like 3 times. So can we do that? Will they have stuff like that?
What I'd like to have had when I was competing was lift insurance. That's just one letter off.
What about deadlift insurance?
Deadlift insurance. I could have used some of that. You really need that because, going into a deadlift in a meet, you're beat, right? You're tired. You need all of the pre-workout stimulants you can possibly get.
And it kills you.
Absolutely. So, to see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com reebok.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent.
Shifting gears, did you see Joe Rogan's post about bow hunting?
I have seen a little bit of stuff about
So he
bow
posted
hunting.
something more recently. You obviously know that he's big into hunting and stuff since you're a huge fan of his show. So he talked about hunting, and he talked about bow hunting, and basically he's a small percentage of a small percentage of a small percentage of people that hunt this very specific way. There's millions of hunters across America, I'm sure. People choose to do it different ways. He's the most connected with this particular way of hunting, and most of the food that he eats comes from hunting.
Right, I did see him say that.
Yeah, and he said that basically he has a real connection with it. So he goes and he hunts the food. He tactically shoots it. He feels it's done in a humane. This is him talking, not me. I don't care one way or the other. This is him talking and saying in a humane and ethical way. He is hunting these animals, killing them, and eating them, and he feels very connected to it. And he feels that that's the way we were designed. Human beings were designed to create weapons and go out and go after their meals, and that's what we were. That's what we were meant to do. And for the most part, a lot of positive responses. A lot of hunters agreed with him. I thought it was interesting. And again, so for me, I mean, I'm not, for or against weapons necessarily. I, shot a gun twice in my life, and people that have guns, I go for it. I think gun control laws and shit are complicated. It's not anything I really sat down and tried to figure out or anything like that. But I can definitely, in a reasonable way, in a rational way, I can read what he wrote and said, yeah, I agree with that. That sounds like that makes sense. We are made to we were made for movement. We're made to fight, and I would have to agree. Yeah, we're made to hunt. I think the other side of that though is people flip the fuck out. And I can't believe he's killing animals. I can't believe he's doing this and doing that. It's like, what kind of percentage is he and every other bow hunter in the entire world? What kind of percentage and what kind of dent are they making in the animal population? It's probably not.
Well, and
it's probably not a lot.
Most controlled hunting is limited. They have a quota system, and each person can only get so much of.
Sometimes you're killing off the older animals that are going to be fucking chewed apart by a goddamn lion or something, right?
or just you can create an overpopulation in a particular area, and they can destroy the ecosystem by taking out all of their prey,
right?
And then they have to move on to somewhere else because they have no prey, or they die off, or whatever. There's a whole management system around it. It's one of those things. I don't have a problem with people hunting. I never have had a problem with people hunting. I also don't have a problem with people having strongly held beliefs about animals and about the preservation of animals.
Yeah, our good friends, the Baileys, they love animals.
Yeah,
they choose not. They made choices in their life to I think they basically have gone vegan. I think. Yeah, I don't think they eat any animal proteins, or at least Rob doesn't.
But I think there has to be some logic to how it fits in the world. You can't I
think that's a good way of doing it, though, the way that Rob Bailey has done it. He's like, I'm not casting my vote in that direction. I'm not going to purchase any animal, based foods. And that's a good way to, I love animals, and I'm not going to partake in this.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it. I don't think you need to have a campaign and run around with a sign yelling at everybody that they can't kill animals.
This is my point. If you want to educate some people about the benefits that you see in a particular lifestyle difference like that, that's probably just fine.
Or if there's a major red flag somewhere of somebody doing something crazy.
Yeah, exactly. If you feel, if species are being threatened because of hunting, that's a problem. That's obviously a problem problem because the ecosystem thing is very complicated, and our attempts to manage it around hunting and stuff like that are shots in the dark. But
Yeah.
There's shots in the dark. But we know that hunting things to extinction is probably not the way to go. But just making a giant campaign and making everybody who doesn't agree with you guilty is a problem. It's the same kind of tribalism that we talked about with Andy Galpin. It's the same kind of thing. It's either you agree with me and you're right, or you disagree with me and you're so fucking wrong
that you're gonna burn in hell.
Yeah, you're gonna burn in hell. Exactly.
I thought Rob Wolf said something interesting recently in checking out some of his Instagram, and then my brother and I had a chance to talk to him recently, and he talked about, we talk quite a bit about nutrition labels here and how they can be wrong, how they can be off, and this and that, and so. Something that he has said, which I think makes a lot of sense, is that the foods that we eat shouldn't have labels on them. The foods that we eat.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, they should be fresh fruits and vegetables. It shouldn't be packaged stuff, I guess is his main point. And I was like, wow, just never heard anybody say that before. That's a little gem from somebody who's really fucking smart.
And going back to Rogan, I remember listening to Rogan when he talked about being fascinated with hunting, but hadn't done it yet. And his goal was to do exactly what he's doing now. He basically said, I want to be able to be in a position where I can kill basically everything I'm going to eat.
Right.
And he said, I think that's fair. I think that's gives balance to my life and gives balance to the world. I'm not relying on other people to go out and kill animals for my benefit.
Yeah.
And I mean, his logic is internally consistent on that point.
Yeah, and trying to, the thing about just nutrition in general, it's like, well, if you went and you hunted it, you probably burned some calories to go get it.
Right.
And maybe there's just, there's even just more balance of your calories based on how hard it is to hunt some of these things. You know what I mean? They're probably just healthier in general.
Yeah. Oh, that's certainly. I think that's really true of.
It's like you have to work for it. You can't just go buy it at the store.
I just think about people who hunt, or particularly people who fish. That's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle choice. I know so many people. Have known so many people in the past who would get up really early and go fishing before they went to work, several days a week, just to have the opportunity to get it in.
Got to wake up pretty goddamn early.
You got to wake up pretty early. Yeah, absolutely.
The Rock popped out another baby. What's going on with that?
Expecting.
Oh yeah, not popped out.
Not popped out.
He's working on it, or it's already worked. I don't know, how do you say that?
Will they name it Moana? No, probably not. I've seen him with
kid number 3. I think for him, I think he's got. He has a baby right now that's already hatched, and he's got a bun in the oven, and then he has an older girl that's probably I don't know, 14, something like that.
From previous.
Yeah, from his first wife, who I think helps run $7 Productions with him. Pretty cool.
That construction first wife. We had a family friend when I was growing up who always used to introduce his wife as his first wife. They were currently married. They never married anybody else, as far as I know. He just thought it was funny to call her his first wife.
When there's not even a second one.
Yeah, there's not a second one.
Yeah, that's where The Rock's at.
He would say he was trying to keep her on her toes, but...
Yeah. Well, The Rock's all over the place, man. That guy's everywhere, and I think it's a good... shows you how powerful social media is, because he's really, risen to the top, and he's got ahead of a lot of other actors that have been, grinding it out. I mean, not that he hasn't been grinding it out. He's been working his ass off, clearly. But it's just interesting through social media how you can just create such a buzz and be, on the front of everybody's mind all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. He's killing it all the time. I see pictures of him with Kevin Hart every day right now.
Yeah, those two are just always making fun of each other, it looks like.
Yeah, they look like they're from different species, though.
He looks like Kevin Hart looks like he's 4 feet tall.
He does.
Did you? So the new Star Wars is coming out. What is it tomorrow?
Yeah, I know people who've already seen it. I actually read probably like 5 or 6 reviews so far.
It comes out, I think, tomorrow late, right?
Yeah,
I mean it comes out Friday officially.
Friday, yeah. I think it's tomorrow night late. Yeah. The guy who owns Sac Comedy Spot here, and who is my instructor for improv comedy classes, is also on a local show called Extra Butter, which is a movie review show on TV. And so he has had the opportunity to see it already. He gave it a B-. He said it was
pretty good.
Good, yeah. He said it was really good. Not the best, but good. Satisfying, largely satisfying. 20
How
minutes,
many
20
Star
minutes too
Wars
long.
is that?
That is 9 Star Wars, counting Rogue One.
That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. I always liked. I mean, there's only been 1 or 2 that I didn't really care for.
I fucking hated Episode 1. Hated it to death.
Who's in Episode 1? Which one's that?
That's the one with. I have a very special set of skills. What's his name? Qui-Gon Jinn. And Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks. That one is bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Is that Episode 1?
It's Episode 1 that was made after Episode 6.
So weird.
Yeah, and it was really terrible movie. The second one was marginally better, but not good. The third one was marginally better than that, and still not good. You got to see Anakin become Darth Vader. That was probably the most interesting part of it, but not a good movie. My favorite of them all is Empire Strikes Back. I hated Rogue One almost as much as I hated Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Empire Strikes Back is the second one or third?
It's the second one, which is number 5.
Number 5. So confusing. It's so
second
confusing.
one, number 5. I think we've actually talked about this way back in the day about the order to watch them in.
That's fucked.
Yeah. So
is there more that's going to come out still?
Yes, a shit ton more. Because now it's with Disney, and it's just a money-making machine.
It's just going to go on
forever. There's one more in the 9-movie set, the 3 trilogy set. The Rogue One was what they call an anthology film, is a Star Wars story, but not in the not an episode. And then my understanding is that the guy that just directed The Last Jedi is getting his own 3-movie arc to do with his own 3-movie trilogy, because he did such a good job with this one.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's a Han Solo movie coming, The Origins of Han Solo.
I saw
potentially Boba Fett.
I saw a movie with my son Jake the other day. What the fuck's the name of it? Disaster Artist?
I tried to see that, and I ended up seeing. I hadn't seen the Thor movie yet, so I did.
I haven't seen the Thor movie. Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, I liked it a lot.
Pretty good. I heard it was pretty funny and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's an attempt, because those have been really fucking dark movies and not very funny and not particularly fun. The 2 other Thor movies, whereas this one is fun. It's kind of got a Guardians of the Galaxy feeling about it. Doesn't hang together quite as well as Guardians of the Galaxy, to my mind, but it was still enjoyable. I liked it. A little long, but I liked it. What's his name was really good in it. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce.
He's always pretty good
as Banner.
The Disaster Artist is weird, but it was very good. It was really good.
I've never seen it. I only recently heard about the movie that it's the making of. Yeah.
I thought when I went to it, I originally thought it was about a movie that was a little older, but I think the movie came out in 2003 or something.
Yeah, it's not that long ago, in the 2000s.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The movie has a much like different reaction to what he expected. He tried to make this real serious movie that he felt was going to knock everybody's socks off. But anyway, the movie was good. It was really good. The acting is really good. Just the story in general was very well executed.
Supposedly, James Franco's best performance, or one of his best performances in anything. And strangely enough, his buddy in the movie is played by his brother, but he had so much facial appliances on to change his look to make him look like the guy that he's playing that you don't see the similarities between the two of them.
Yeah, I like the movie. I think some people will watch it and just think it's maybe a little bit too weird, but I thought it was cool.
Have you ever seen Ed Wood?
Yeah, Ed Wood.
It's in the same style as Ed Wood in some ways. I think Ed Wood is just quirkier because what's his name is a quirkier director.
Yeah, that movie was really
Help
good.
Me, who directed
Jesus Christ, who directed it?
First Batman movie too.
Is it the guy that directed Terminator?
No, same guy that he also directed the.
Oh man, we're striking out really bad.
The second version of Willy Wonka. Oh my God, this is terrible.
Tim Burton. There you
Tim
go.
Burton. Thank you very much. Boom. I always forget his name. He's married.
Tim Burton did Beetlejuice too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was a great movie. I loved that movie. I don't understand why I loved that movie, but I did love that movie.
Beetlejuice is great. Michael Keaton's awesome.
Michael Keaton is awesome. Yeah.
Beetlejuice is a great movie. It's really weird. Yeah, really strange.
Yeah, it's
Kind of scary in some weird way, but no, that's a good flick. I like that a lot.
animated in a weird way. What else we got up here? NFL commissioners retiring in 2023. Jesus Christ, you might as. Oh, he's not renewing. So his contract runs out in 2023. That's like saying that a meteor is going to hit us in 2023, and
it's a
long time.
It is a long time from now. The NFL has been struggling this year, just because you don't know who's, normally there's, from year to year, it's kind of like a little bit more predictable about who's gonna win. And even though people complain and they're like, oh, I hate seeing this team, beat the crap out of everybody else. That usually makes for good ratings because then people want to see that team lose. Mm-hmm. Well, now there's not really a team like that, so everyone's kind of confused on who the fuck's going to win the whole thing. It's a different kind of year, and a lot of the best players, J.J. Watt got hurt again this year, and a bunch of other big time players went down, and it's kind of a mess. It's not easy to follow. And then college football, is on like this. Every year they have this giant gap between. Between the end of the season and the first bowl game, so things are drying up football wise for us over here.
Yeah, and the Niners actually started Jimmy G and won. So, and he had a fantastic day.
They're starting to get a little bit of momentum. Doing anything for Christmas? Anything fun?
I believe that we are going to. Where are we going?
This is a weird time of year.
Somewhere on the coast. I don't know.
It's a weird time of year because, like, around Thanksgiving, people start getting hyped up for Christmas, and then after Thanksgiving, there's kind of like a lull.
Yeah.
And everything kind of calms back down, but then there's people getting their Christmas trees and all this bullshit. You get a Christmas tree?
Yes, we did that the other day. And
you get a real tree or a fake tree?
Got a real tree. We always do a real tree. The question is just how big is it's going to be. We have a space for a big one, but I'm not up to dealing with a 12-foot plus tree every year. So
it makes quite the goddamn mess.
It's a giant mess, and this was the first year that I did not myself originally put the tree in the stand, and I had apparently not communicated well exactly how it was supposed to go, because I kept thinking it would not stand up straight. It's like, what the hell is wrong with this thing? I finally said, we have to take this down and I have to look and see how this was done. And it was just a misunderstanding about how far it needed to go into the container to not be...
Christmas stands, like those things are shit. They're just the worst. They
are
work.
pretty bad. Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
They never work. We gave up. We just have someone else set it up because we're just like we're not gonna mess with it anymore. My wife had the tree fall on her one year. That was pretty good.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
I know. She threw her back out. She got all jacked up from it. It wasn't. The tree was like a little bit crooked, and then she tried to fuck with it, and then the tree kicked her ass, basically, is what ended up happening.
Well, we've had the same one for years, and it's like one that you actually like have a pedal that you pull out and you squish down on the pedal so you can right the tree, and then you let go of the pedal and it's supposed to lock in place. But it isn't always great. And some trees are just fucked up.
None of it ever works out very good. Every year, like around October, I start thinking about like getting presents for people, and then for some reason I totally forget, and then I just never end up buying anything for anybody. That happens pretty much every year.
Run down for me what's going on. Whoever wrote this up with Josh Emmett, he's taking a last minute fight. Is that the story? Which is one of those things he does. And when is that fight?
What's up with Floyd Mayweather? What's that say?
Teasing a possibility of fighting in the UFC.
Oh,
against a rematch against Conor McGregor. What would the point of that be other than money?
$1 billion.
$1 billion. Point raise is where I will be after Christmas. That's.
Ew. Yeah, $1 billion. Jesus, that would not be a good fight. That would be really bad.
If they could just stand up there and throw money at each other, I'd watch that instead. I'd pay to watch that.
Man, that would just end so fast. There's just no chance.
No,
Floyd Mayweather to figure out anything. You know, I see our boy Mike Rashid fighting at one of Floyd Mayweather's gyms.
Yeah,
he's been back in the boxing game, and he's looking awesome. I'm kind of wondering if he's going to hit up a boxing match or something like that.
You know what I noticed?
He's been going crazy.
I could be wrong about this, but it looks like he's carrying more body weight than he normally does. He looks heavier.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that he isn't still ripped, but he looks like he's carrying more body weight.
Well, maybe because he's training more. Maybe he's throwing down a few more cheeseburgers.
Maybe so. Who knows?
He's pretty goddamn jacked either way, but. You know, that kind of training, it's brutal, but I know that he's always liked that. He's always liked to keep some athleticism in his training, and I'm starting to see that more and more from some of my friends and some of the people that I know. They want to just like not just power lift, not just kind of be one dimensional. They want to figure out some other things they can do. Hanging out with Kyle Kingsbury when I was down in at the Onnit Academy. You know, he and I lifted together a little bit. We did a little bro sesh, little pump session, biceps, shoulders type thing. But then we also messed around with some jiu-jitsu. And he's there like stretching on the mat, and he's like fucking crazy flexible and shit. And even after that, then he just did some other type of training where he was messing around with a few other exercises and stuff. And it's good to keep that athleticism. You know, if I could share one thing with the younger crowd is try to keep some of that in there. You know, even if it's just at the end of a training session, mixing in something so you don't lose some of that, because regaining it and fighting against it is difficult, and that's kind of where I'm at. I've started boxing. I started doing some other things, and it feels good, but it's a much longer climb had I just at least kept some of that in there.
Yeah.
You know, and it wouldn't have really taken me a whole lot of extra time to keep some of those things around. But
well, in the heaviest bodyweight powerlifting days, it would have been really challenging, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't have been able to box or anything like that. But even just some mobility work and even just anything of that nature would have been I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just lunges, step ups, stuff like that.
So this actually will post this week. So is the meet full?
The Super Training Classic, which is January 13th and 14th, is almost full. You can find out more information if you go to the Super Training Gym Instagram. You just go on there, and there's a link to it. Click on that bitch, and if you want to sign up, you can still sign up. I think the meet is getting really close to being all the way full.
Awesome. Anything else before we put a bow on this one?
I think that's about it.
All righty.
Our boy John Cena's got a movie coming out.
Oh, really?
He's got that Ferdinand, where he's a bull. You see that?
No.
He's a cartoon. Have you seen any of that?
Oh, he's the
Jessica?
voice of the bull?
Yeah, he's
Wow.
the voice of the bull.
Awesome.
He's a big giant bull. I don't even know when that comes out, but anyway, he'll be. I'm sure you'll see him doing all kinds of press stuff for it coming up, because I think it's coming out pretty soon.
Awesome.
Multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle. May all your shits be tapered. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell on Instagram and Twitter. Catch you guys later.
Shout out to all of our sponsors, 8Man Apparel at 8manstrong.com, bodybuilding.com for all of your supplement needs, Compex USA for cutting-edge muscle stim machines. Get an additional 28% off when you use the code PowerCast on all but the lowest price model. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifter, official shoe of the PowerCast. Increase your bench at howmuchyourbench.net. Use the code PowerCast. Get 15% off Sling Shots plus free shipping. Power, the only strength magazine available in both digital and print at thepowermagazine.com. Precision Nutrition. Get the free course, especially for our listeners, at get.pn/PowerCast. That's get.pn/PowerCast. And Health IQ, a life insurance company with special rates for weightlifters. See if you qualify today by going to healthiq.com/PowerCast. And support this show by doing that thing. I am at the Jim McD on all the social medias. Follow the show on Instagram. We are at Mark Bell's PowerCast.
Something I forgot to mention.
Oops.
I'd like to give a shout out to Sean Perrine's family.
Oh, yeah.
He passed away. He got me into muscle and fitness and men's health, and I wasn't like I was buddy with him or anything. We weren't best friends, but he was influential in the health and fitness industry, and he was always super kind to me and my brother. So my heart goes out to his family. He had cancer, and I think ended up having some heart complications. So sorry to hear that. Sorry for the bad news. Hopefully you guys can stay strong.
Yeah, cancer sucks. We're out of here.